Hello everyone. So today we're going to be looking at my English yew that I recently purchased for £4 from B&Q. Just a cheap little tree. To be honest, I've been looking at yews for a while. Don't currently have the funds for a bigger one, and obviously I'm trying to do bonsai on the cheap anyway, so £4 for this one. Started off by looking for the root base if I could, see if there was any roots that are coming out that I liked, but couldn't see any anyway as this pot is so deep, so I just presumed the front and started trimming away. So here I'm just removing some of the lower branches. It's more for perspective. Depending on how tall you want the tree, depends on where the first branches are. Typically in bonsai they say the lower third has no branches. I mean, there are specific ratios for bonsai, but they're quite hard to keep to. So I'm just trimming away here. Although it looks a bit erratic because this in 2 times speed. I am thinking about what I'm doing here. Not that I actually know, but from what I've learnt over the years watching YouTube and trimming other trees. You know, styling is all artistic expression. There's like foundational rules that you should stick to with bonsai, but there's no actual rules. You know, the horticultural side of it, I suppose, is quite objective. You know, how trees grow and how you can take care of them, but the actual styling and decisions you make really are subjective. So I'm done with trimming for now. I left a few options on there just because I wasn't sure what shape I was actually going to bend it into. It's a rookie mistake removing all of the branches before bending, because obviously once you start twisting and turning, you're not sure what you're actually going to use and what you're not going to use, so you want to make sure that you keep some branches. Or some options, should I say. So I believe this is it's either 3.5 or 4mm wire. I know that yews are bendy, especially at this age, obviously with how thin it actually is. Flexible trees are quite nice to work with, but then again you need the stronger wire to actually hold it in place. I've got a few Piaceas. Actually there's a video coming up of a Christmas tree I'm doing. You'll see in that one that I tried to use thicker wire than needed really to move a branch and just to give it that extra hold. Some people use copper. Copper has a better hold to it, but unfortunately I don't have any copper wire yet. So I think I was going for this kind of S shape, but like a tight S shape rather than a smooth one. I've got a few trees in the S shape style. I tend to not really be a fan of the smooth kind of S shape, I suppose. I like the tighter bends, and over time this tree will thicken, and as the tree thickens, the bends will get smoother. They won't be quite as harsh, so you have to be quite harsh with your bends in the beginning. So that's the main trunk wired, and now I'm going to move on to the branches. I sometimes find branches tricky. I suppose it's the pre-planning part. I don't really pre-plan which branch is going to be wide with which, obviously using the 2-branch method. I am starting to figure out what my first turn needs to be, or where I come in on the shoulder of that branch. So like on this one, this branch is looking to go down, so I have to come over the top of the shoulder. So the first move is down, but I do still end up with a lot of seesaw branches. Seesaw branching being that when I move one, the other one moves. Really should wrap around the trunk, I suppose, once before you come onto it, but I believe these two are okay actually. These two aren't bad for that. I think I've done these quite correctly, but the bottom two you'll see later on are seesaw branches. The bottom 2 branches I didn't really want to keep on the tree. I've cut quite a lot off in one go. I know it's a young tree, so it should be fine. They're used at hardy trees, but for now I've left them on just to try and keep it strong. And I'll see what happens in the spring. Maybe I'll use one as a sacrificial to start thicken up that bottom half of the trunk, because it is there isn't much taper going on there. Yeah, I'm just kind of placing them just for the best advantage for development, really. So this is the first video from this camera angle, and this is where I keep my bonsais on their bench. Still a bit awkward for me, I'm still getting used to it. I'm kind of hugging the camera at this point, hence why you see my arms in front of it. But it's a much better angle than the one I had previously, which is kind of the camera on the side and the bin. So hopefully you can enjoy my point of view on this one, because you're essentially seeing exactly what I see. Here I'm just bending around what I believe will be the apex, just trying to get that bit of a tight turn. You know, with bonsai you want the apex to come towards or lean towards the viewer. It makes it more welcoming. Also, why we don't really have branches out to the front straight away, like what they call them, eye pokers. You don't typically see them on trees, so this one, which is an eye poker at the moment, does get moved eventually. Now you try to give every tree a bit of a story. With the bends and twists I've got in this one, there's only a few scenarios that would actually work with it, I suppose. Maybe a bit windswept on the trunk at the beginning, but then the apex does come back around on that like a U-turn, so that wouldn't make much sense. Mostly windswept is all in one way, one direction. Unless the wind magically stops in that place, which doesn't really happen. Although with this one I'd imagine that, you know, it was growing, but there was a tree beside it growing as well. And the tree beside grew quicker, shaded it out, so it had to start leaning back to get towards the sun. And then something happened with the other tree, for it eventually to be able to turn back around and start climbing up. In nature, trees that are growing these kind of shapes, there's usually a reason for it. Most trees would just grow straight up if you let them. So that's the most energy efficient way to grow, if it is on a field in its own. Obviously we know that trees grow, you know, side by side each other. It's just where the seed lands is where the tree grows, and a lot of them have to fight for survival and make these bends and turns throughout the years just to get that sunlight. I think a lot of bonsai is trying to represent that, you know, older tree, the rare trees that you see and find. You know, not every tree has loads of dead wood and everything else, but in bonsai that's what you mostly see. I've recently been watching a lot of Ryan Neal over at Bonsai Mirai. Some of the things he goes through, which I like the way he's kind of going with it at the moment. It's not just your typical Japanese style bonsai kind of shapes, and you know, it gets a bit repetitive when you see every tree in that, you know, perfectly conical shape, and every branch has a perfect taper, and you know, there are trees like that do exist, don't get me wrong, but I find most of the trees that I see in nature, like the old oaks and that, there's going to be some inverse taper. There's a weird branch that comes out and up, and some more naturalistic shapes, I suppose. So that's something I'll be looking to create in some of my trees going forward. More of a natural approach rather than a perfectly tamed tree. This video was shot at the end of October. I believe it's still about 16-17 degrees in the daytime and about 11 or 12 at night. Hence why I've still got my Portulacaria afra cuttings in the bottom right corner. Trust me, they're not still out today. They're all indoors, and I will be doing a video on my indoor setup and some of my indoor plants. I've recently bought a couple more. Bought a Sarissa because I did have a Sarissa, and then I made a mistake when I was repotting it. Repotted it at the wrong time, didn't have enough strength for it, and well, you know how finicky they can be anyway. That just died off instantly, so I bought another one of them because I enjoy growing it. I like seeing the flowers. Little white flowers for an indoor tree is very nice. And also bought a Chinese pepper tree. So I was really looking for a Brazilian rain tree, but I find it's incredibly difficult to get seeds or anything in the UK. So far I've only seen one Etsy seller. They're about £25 for 10 seeds, which I can't really justify. If it was a seedling or a sapling, you know, maybe different. But yeah, so I went with a Chinese pepper tree because they look kind of similar. It's a main tree right now, not going to show in size, but hopefully I can grow it. Took some cuttings. Hopefully them cuttings can grow and maybe giving some away. Also bought a few more Portulacaria afra cuttings because they were like $1.99, I think, for like 3 in a pot. And I bought a new bonsai pot as well from my local garden centre. And to be honest, over the winter I usually just get ready for spring. So that's when I start buying all my soil and pots and whatever else I need for different trees and different stages. So we're coming to the end on this one. I'm just trying to make a little false apex out of these 2 branches at the top. And obviously eventually I will be growing out finer kind of branches for the top part to make a true apex, but that's just what I come up with for now. There is no such thing as a bonsai made in a day, obviously. This is more for development, all the bends and twists that I've got going on here. But yeah, there's the tree, so we'll have a look at what the tree was like when I bought it, and then what I've managed to turn it into. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.